We discovered in science and neuroscience is that the brain doesn't create consciousness. It downloads consciousness.
Right. And that's what a lot of these Rosicrucians talk about, getting these ideas from, are downloads.
Yes.
They talk about getting downloads.
Correct. Downloading is real. When I took that course at MIT in applied neuroscience, Dr. Tara Swart was the professor. That's exactly what we were taught in the class.
Really?
Facts. And I have her on podcast that I did with her talking about this. We did a whole workshop together, a private class together called Spirituality Backed by Neuroscience. I'll send you a link to it.
And this is taught about at MIT.
At MIT.
Spirituality taught by neuroscience?
Spirituality backed by neuroscience.
Backed by neuroscience.
Yeah, exactly. Because the science is the background explaining what's happening on the spiritual side. What they've discovered is that the two go together. They're not to be separated. That we're understanding now that in the quantum field, the quantum field and the mathematics is literally explaining spirituality. And spirituality is a result of what's happening in the quantum field. When you separate it, you're lost. When you put them together, you get the answers.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I remember there was a study on, they had like some monkeys that were on an island somewhere near Australia, and they figured something out. Like they figured out a way to use a certain tool.
Yeah.
Or they figured maybe it was a new food they
They
discovered.
were going to wash their food a certain way.
Yeah. Okay. You know about it.
Yeah.
And then simultaneously across the world, another group of monkeys figured out the same thing at the same time.
Yes. This is because that information went into the field, and those monkeys are on that particular frequency because their thought patterns are the same. Just like when there's an invention in one part of the world, somebody else has the same invention in another part of the world almost at the same time, because the information's out there and somebody else grabs it and brings it in. We're always sending and receiving information. They found out in the laboratory, Professor George Church, he did an experiment with DNA. He said, okay, let's see if DNA can store information, right? So he was able to take one of his ebooks, and he actually was able to convert the digital zeros and ones into ACs, T's, and G's and download it onto DNA in a volume. And he said, man, it worked. I got my book onto the DNA. Let's see if I can replicate it. He replicated his book 80 billion times on 1 gram of DNA. One drop.
80 billion times.
80 billion times. And then what did he do? He said, okay, let's see if we can get it back. So then he converted the ACs, T's, and G's back into zeros and ones and uploaded it back to the server. So he knew now that DNA can send and receive information in a volume. And so they said, wait a minute, this is incredible. So now they found out that one human body can store over 13.5 billion years of data just in your DNA.